Question 1. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why students start feeling nervous after a certain chime is repeatedly paired with a pop quiz. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A. Classical conditioning. Option B. Constructivism. Option C. Metacognition. Option D. Operant conditioning. The correct answer is option A. Classical conditioning. This describes classical conditioning because a neutral stimulus becomes linked with an emotional response after repeated pairings. Constructivism is not the best choice because it explains active meaning-making, not a reflexive conditioned response. Metacognition is different because it concerns thinking about one's own thinking, not learned emotional associations. Operant conditioning does not fit because it focuses on consequences after behavior rather than associations before a response. Question 2. Teachers in a final review session wonder why a teacher adds praise after a student participates and participation increases. Which principle applies? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Positive reinforcement. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Punishment. The correct answer is option B. Positive reinforcement. This describes positive reinforcement because a desirable consequence is added after a behavior, making that behavior more likely. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens behavior by withholding reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is different because it removes an unpleasant condition rather than adding a reward. Punishment does not fit because it aims to reduce behavior rather than increase it. Question 3. Can Louise treat students' complete homework early to avoid a weekly reminder call home as evidence of which concept? Option A. Positive reinforcement. Option B. Response cost. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Classical conditioning. The correct answer is option C. Negative reinforcement. This describes negative reinforcement because a behavior increases because it helps the learner avoid or remove something unpleasant. Positive reinforcement is not the best choice because it adds a pleasant consequence rather than removing an unpleasant one. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege after misbehavior. Classical conditioning does not fit because it involves stimulus association rather than consequences shaping behavior. Question 4. If Louise must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student receives an extra cleanup task after throwing paper and the behavior decreases? Option A. Negative reinforcement. Option B. Shaping. Option C. Positive punishment. Option D. Positive reinforcement. The correct answer is option C. Positive punishment. This describes positive punishment because an unpleasant consequence is added to reduce an unwanted behavior. Negative reinforcement is not the best choice because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Shaping is different because it builds behavior through small reinforced steps. Positive reinforcement does not fit because it adds something desirable to increase behavior. Question 5. Rather than guessing, Louise should connect a teacher rewards each closer attempt as a shy student gradually speaks louder in class with which concept? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Fixed ratio schedule. Option C. Shaping. Option D. Reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option C. Shaping. This describes shaping because successive approximations are reinforced until the desired behavior develops. Extinction is not the best choice because it reduces behavior by removing reinforcement. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses, not gradual progress. Reciprocal teaching does not fit because it uses student-led reading strategies rather than behavior building. Question 6. Curiosity rises when Louise reads that a teacher stops laughing at off-task jokes and the jokes slowly fade away. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A. Extinction. Option B. Punishment. Option C. Modeling. Option D. Spaced practice. The correct answer is option A. Extinction. This describes extinction because a previously reinforced behavior decreases when reinforcement is no longer provided. Punishment is not the best choice because it adds or removes a consequence to reduce behavior more directly. Modeling is different because it involves learning by watching others. Spaced practice does not fit because it improves memory through distributed study sessions. Question 7. A CLEP-style scenario says a student keeps answering review questions because bonus points appear after unpredictable numbers of correct responses. Which answer best captures it for Louise? Option A. Variable ratio schedule. Option B. Fixed ratio schedule. Option C. Fixed interval schedule. Option D. Variable interval schedule. The correct answer is option A. Variable ratio schedule. This describes variable ratio schedule because reinforcement occurs after an unpredictable number of responses, which often produces steady responding. Fixed ratio schedule is not the best choice because it rewards after a predictable number of responses. Fixed interval schedule is different because it rewards the first response after a set amount of time. Variable interval schedule does not fit because it rewards after changing time intervals rather than response counts. Question 8. Inside a Bright Review class, Luis studies why students work hardest right before a quiz that happens every Friday. Which concept fits? Option A, token economy. Option B, variable ratio schedule. Option C, fixed interval schedule. Option D, fixed ratio schedule. The correct answer is option C, fixed interval schedule. This describes fixed interval schedule because reinforcement is available after a predictable amount of time has passed. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards exchanged for privileges. Variable ratio schedule is different because it depends on unpredictable response counts. Fixed ratio schedule does not fit because it depends on a set number of responses. Question 9. Looking at the clue that a child copies a classmate's polite hand-raising after seeing the classmate praised, which idea should Luis remember? Option A, classical conditioning. Option B, insight learning. Option C, the observational learning. Option D, trial and error learning. The correct answer is option C, observational learning. This describes observational learning because the learner changes behavior after watching another person and the consequences that follow. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it links stimuli rather than modeling behavior. Insight learning is different because it involves a sudden solution, not imitation. Trial and error learning does not fit because it depends on personal attempts and feedback rather than watching a model. Question 10. Luis sees that a student with strong belief in personal ability chooses harder practice problems during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, intrinsic motivation. Option B, self-efficacy. Option C, external locus of control. Option D, self-concept. The correct answer is option B, self-efficacy. This describes self-efficacy because the learner's belief in their capability affects effort, persistence, and challenge choice. Intrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it refers to interest or enjoyment, not belief in ability. External locus of control is different because it attributes outcomes to outside forces rather than personal capability. Self-concept does not fit because it is a broader view of oneself, not task-specific competence. Question 11. When Luis notices that a student's competence, learning behavior, and teacher response all influence one another in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, maturation. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, reciprocal determinism. Option D, norm reference testing. The correct answer is option C, reciprocal determinism. This describes reciprocal determinism because personal factors, behavior, and environment interact in a two-way pattern. Maturation is not the best choice because it emphasizes biological growth rather than social interaction cycles. Classical conditioning is different because it focuses on learned stimulus associations. Norm reference testing does not fit because it compares scores to other test takers. Question 12. During a practice test workshop, Luis studies a case where a teacher gives sentence starters at first and slowly removes them as students improve. Which term fits best? Option A, standardization. Option B, scaffolding. Option C, summative assessment. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option B, scaffolding. This describes scaffolding because temporary support is provided and then withdrawn as learners become more independent. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps testing procedures the same for everyone. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates learning after instruction is complete. Extinction does not fit because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Question 13. In a tutoring table, Luis asks why a student can solve a problem with hints but not yet alone. Which answer names the idea? Option A, formal operational stage. Option B, reliability. Option C, zone of proximal development. Option D, mastery learning. The correct answer is option C, zone of proximal development. This describes zone of proximal development because the task sits between independent ability and what the learner can do with support. Formal operational stage is not the best choice because it describes abstract reasoning, not support level. Reliability is different because it concerns score consistency, not learning support. Mastery learning does not fit because it requires reaching a performance standard before moving on. Question 14. After reading that a child calls a zebra a horse because it fits an existing animal category, how should Luis label the concept? Option A, accommodation. Option B, encoding. Option C, conservation. Option D, assimilation. The correct answer is option D, assimilation. This describes assimilation because new information is interpreted using an existing mental schema. Accommodation is not the best choice because it changes the schema to fit new information. Encoding is different because it is getting information into memory. Conservation does not fit because it is understanding that quantity can stay the same despite appearance changes. Question 15. For a short exam review, Luis connects a child changes the animal category after learning zebras are not horses with which principle? Option A, assimilation. Option B, rehearsal. Option C, accommodation. Option D, class inclusion. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because an existing schema is revised when new information does not fit. Assimilation is not the best choice because it would force new information into an old schema. Rehearsal is different because it is repeating information to maintain it in memory. Class inclusion does not fit because it involves understanding category relationships. Question 16. Could a case where a child solves conservation tasks but struggles with purely hypothetical logic be an example of which concept for Luis? Option A, sensoromotor thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, concrete operational thinking. Option D, preoperational thinking. The correct answer is option C, concrete operational thinking. This describes concrete operational thinking because children can reason logically about concrete objects but not fully abstract possibilities. Sensoromotor thinking is not the best choice because it centers on infant sensory and motor exploration. Formal operational thinking is different because it includes abstract and hypothetical reasoning. Preoperational thinking does not fit because it often lacks conservation and logical reversibility. Question 17. Why would Luis link a teen reasons through a hypothetical justice problem without needing physical examples to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, concrete operational thinking. Option B, formal operational thinking. Option C, object permanence. Option D, preoperational thinking. The correct answer is option B, formal operational thinking. This describes formal operational thinking because abstract and hypothetical reasoning are key features of the stage. Concrete operational thinking is not the best choice because it works best with tangible examples. Object permanence is different because it is an infant understanding that objects still exist when unseen. Preoperational thinking does not fit because it is marked by symbolic thought but limited logic. Question 18. A practice item tells Luis that an infant searches for a hidden toy instead of acting as if it disappeared. Which concept is most likely? Option A, conservation. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, centration. Option D, object permanence. The correct answer is option D, object permanence. This describes object permanence because the child understands that objects continue to exist even when out of sight. Conservation is not the best choice because it involves understanding quantity despite appearance changes. Egocentrism is different because it involves difficulty taking another person's viewpoint. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature while ignoring others. Question 19. Before answering, Luis identifies that an elementary student gains pride from mastering reading and learning skills. Which term should be chosen? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, generativity versus stagnation. Option C, trust versus mistrust. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option D, industry versus inferiority. This describes industry versus inferiority because school-age children build competence through successful work and feedback. Identity versus role confusion is not the best choice because it is mainly an adolescent search for personal identity. Generativity versus stagnation is different because it focuses on adult contribution to others. Trust versus mistrust does not fit because it centers on infant caregiver reliability. Question 20. Which choice helps Luis explain why a teenager explores values, careers, and beliefs to answer who they are in a student coaching session? Option A, identity versus role confusion. Option B, intimacy versus isolation. Option C, autonomy versus shame. Option D, industry versus inferiority. The correct answer is option A, identity versus role confusion. This describes identity versus role confusion because adolescents work toward a stable sense of self and direction. Intimacy versus isolation is not the best choice because it usually involves young adult relationships. Autonomy versus shame is different because it describes toddlers building independence. Industry versus inferiority does not fit because it focuses on school-age competence. Question 21. How can Luis classify a classroom moment where a student says cheating is wrong because rules and community expectations matter? Option A, moral realism. Option B, post-conventional morality. Option C, pre-conventional morality. Option D, conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, conventional morality. This describes conventional morality because moral reasoning is based on social approval, rules, and maintaining order. Moral realism is not the best choice because it treats rules as fixed and unchangeable. Post-conventional morality is different because it uses broad ethical principles beyond rules. Pre-conventional morality does not fit because it focuses on rewards and punishments. Question 22. Suppose Luis observes that a child avoids lying mainly to escape punishment or earn a reward. Which concept is shown? Option A, conventional morality. Option B, pre-conventional morality. Option C, identity achievement. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option B, pre-conventional morality. This describes pre-conventional morality because moral decisions are driven by personal consequences such as punishment or reward. Conventional morality is not the best choice because it emphasizes rules and approval from society. Identity achievement is different because it describes commitment after exploration, not moral reasoning. Post-conventional morality does not fit because it reasons from abstract principles and rights. Question 23. While reviewing, Luis sees a student argues that a rule should be challenged when it violates basic human rights. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, pre-conventional morality. Option B, conventional morality. Option C, learned helplessness. Option D, post-conventional morality. The correct answer is option D, post-conventional morality. This describes post-conventional morality because moral reasoning is guided by universal principles rather than simple rule following. Pre-conventional morality is not the best choice because it focuses on personal gain or punishment. Conventional morality is different because it generally supports rules and social order. Learned helplessness does not fit because it concerns giving up after repeated failure. Question 24. One interesting clue says a teacher plans choices that include music, movement, language, and spatial design. Which educational psychology term fits for Luis? Option A, norm reference testing. Option B, working memory. Option C, G-factor. Option D, multiple intelligences. The correct answer is option D, multiple intelligences. This describes multiple intelligences because the approach treats ability as varied across different domains of strength. Norm reference testing is not the best choice because it compares learners to a group. Working memory is different because it is a limited mental workspace. G-factor does not fit because it emphasizes a general intelligence factor. Question 25. From this example, where an assignment asks students to solve problems, create products, and apply ideas in daily life, which answer should Luis select? Option A, multiple intelligences. Option B, criterion reference testing. Option C, triarchic intelligence. Option D, fluid intelligence. The correct answer is option C, triarchic intelligence. This describes triarchic intelligence because Sternberg's model highlights analytical, creative, and practical intelligence. Multiple intelligences is not the best choice because it lists broader domains such as musical or bodily kinesthetic abilities. Criterion referenced testing is different because it measures performance against standards. Fluid intelligence does not fit because it refers to novel problem-solving ability. Question 26. Students in a morning lesson discuss why a student studies child development because the topic feels genuinely fascinating. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, extrinsic motivation. Option B, negative reinforcement. Option C, performance goal. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option D, intrinsic motivation. This describes intrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by interest, curiosity, or enjoyment of the activity itself. Extrinsic motivation is not the best choice because it depends on outside rewards or pressures. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing something unpleasant. Performance goal does not fit because it focuses on looking competent compared with others. Question 27. Teachers in a practice test workshop wonder why a student completes extra practice mainly to earn a gift card. Which principle applies? Option A, self-regulation. Option B, mastery goal. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option C, extrinsic motivation. This describes extrinsic motivation because the behavior is driven by an outside reward rather than the activity itself. Self-regulation is not the best choice because it involves planning and monitoring one's learning. Mastery goal is different because it emphasizes learning and improvement. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it comes from interest or enjoyment. Question 28. Can Louise treat a student chooses difficult questions to improve understanding even if mistakes happen as evidence of which concept? Option A, mastery goal. Option B, fixed mindset. Option C, performance goal. Option D, avoidance goal. The correct answer is option A, mastery goal. This describes mastery goal because the focus is on growth, learning, and skill development. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as unchangeable. Performance goal is different because it focuses on proving ability or outperforming others. Avoidance goal does not fit because it focuses on avoiding failure or embarrassment. Question 29. If Louise must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student studies mainly to score higher than classmates and appear smart? Option A, metacognition. Option B, intrinsic motivation. Option C, mastery goal. Option D, performance goal. The correct answer is option D, performance goal. This describes performance goal because the learner is focused on demonstrating ability relative to others. Metacognition is not the best choice because it involves awareness and control of thinking. Intrinsic motivation is different because it centers on enjoyment or curiosity. Mastery goal does not fit because it centers on improvement and understanding. Question 30. Rather than guessing, Louise should connect a student explains a failed test by blaming effort, task difficulty, luck, or ability with which concept? Option A, Constructivism. Option B, attribution theory. Option C, classroom ecology. Option D, information processing theory. The correct answer is option B, attribution theory. This describes attribution theory because it examines how people explain causes of success and failure. Constructivism is not the best choice because it emphasizes building meaning from experience. Classroom ecology is different because it focuses on classroom environment patterns. Information processing theory does not fit because it explains how information moves through memory systems. Question 31. Curiosity rises when Louise reads that a student stops trying because repeated failures made success feel impossible. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, learned helplessness. Option B, growth mindset. Option C, positive transfer. Option D, self-efficacy. The correct answer is option A, learned helplessness. This describes learned helplessness because repeated uncontrollable failure can reduce motivation and effort. Growth mindset is not the best choice because it supports belief that ability can improve. Positive transfer is different because it happens when prior learning helps new learning. Self-efficacy does not fit because it refers to belief in capability, not resignation. Question 32. A CLEP-style scenario says a student treats mistakes as evidence that a skill can improve with strategy and effort. Which answer best captures it for Louise? Option A, fixed mindset. Option B, growth mindset. Option C, entity theory. Option D, external attribution. The correct answer is option B, growth mindset. This describes growth mindset because ability is viewed as developable through effort, feedback, and better strategies. Fixed mindset is not the best choice because it treats ability as stable and hard to change. Entity theory is different because it is another way to describe fixed views of ability. External attribution does not fit because it places causes outside the learner. Question 33. Inside a learning lab, Louise studies why a hungry, unsafe student struggles to focus on a challenging lesson. Which concept fits? Option A, Kohlberg theory. Option B, Maslow hierarchy of needs. Option C, classical conditioning. Option D, Bloom taxonomy. The correct answer is option B, Maslow hierarchy of needs. This describes Maslow hierarchy of needs because basic physiological and safety needs can affect readiness for higher level learning. Kohlberg theory is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning development. Classical conditioning is different because it explains learned stimulus response associations. Bloom taxonomy does not fit because it classifies cognitive learning objectives. Question 34. Looking at the clue that a student loses track while solving a long mental math problem with many steps, which idea should Louise remember? Option A, long-term memory. Option B, procedural memory. Option C, working memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option C, working memory. This describes working memory because working memory is the limited mental space used to hold and process information temporarily. Long-term memory is not the best choice because it stores information over extended periods. Procedural memory is different because it stores skills and habits. Sensory memory does not fit because it briefly holds raw sensory input. Question 35. Luis sees that a student recalls a teaching theory studied weeks earlier during a student coaching session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, working memory. Option B, selective attention. Option C, long-term memory. Option D, sensory memory. The correct answer is option C, long-term memory. This describes long-term memory because information retained over time is stored in long-term memory. Working memory is not the best choice because it is temporary and limited during active thinking. Selective attention is different because it filters what receives mental focus. Sensory memory does not fit because it lasts only briefly after stimulation. Question 36. When Luis notices that a student turns a new vocabulary term into a meaningful example to remember it in a mini lecture, which idea is being tested? Option A, extinction. Option B, retrieval. Option C, validity. Option D, encoding. The correct answer is option D, encoding. This describes encoding because encoding is the process of getting information into memory in a usable form. Extinction is not the best choice because it weakens a learned behavior. Retrieval is different because it involves pulling stored information back out. Validity does not fit because it concerns whether a test measures what it should. Question 37. During a peer study circle, Luis studies a case where a student closes the book and answers questions from memory to strengthen recall. Which term fits best? Option A, summative assessment. Option B, massed practice. Option C, retrieval practice. Option D, centration. The correct answer is option C, retrieval practice. This describes retrieval practice because actively recalling information improves later memory more than simply rereading. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it evaluates learning at the end of instruction. Massed practice is different because it compresses study into one long session. Centration does not fit because it means focusing on one feature of a situation. Question 38. In a Bright Review class, Luis asks why a student studies the same concepts in short sessions across several days. Which answer names the idea? Option A, massed practice. Option B, shaping. Option C, norming. Option D, spaced practice. The correct answer is option D, spaced practice. This describes spaced practice because learning is distributed over time, which usually supports stronger retention. Massed practice is not the best choice because it packs study into one concentrated period. Shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes. Norming does not fit because it creates comparison data for a test. Question 39. After reading that a student links a new theory to personal learning experiences, how should Luis label the concept? Option A, elaboration. Option B, rote rehearsal. Option C, extinction. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, elaboration. This describes elaboration because new information is made more meaningful by connecting it to existing knowledge. Rote rehearsal is not the best choice because it repeats information without adding meaning. Extinction is different because it removes reinforcement to reduce behavior. Reliability does not fit because it refers to consistency of measurement. Question 40. For a short exam review, Luis connects a student group's a long list of theorists into behaviorist, cognitive, and social categories with which principle? Option A, overlearning. Option B, response cost. Option C, accommodation. Option D, chunking. The correct answer is option D, chunking. This describes chunking because information is organized into meaningful units to reduce memory load. Overlearning is not the best choice because it continues practice after initial mastery. Response cost is different because it removes a privilege to reduce behavior. Accommodation does not fit because it changes a schema to fit new information. Question 41. Could a case where a student checks which topics are weak and adjusts the study plan be an example of which concept for Luis? Option A, metacognition. Option B, classical conditioning. Option C, extrinsic motivation. Option D, automaticity. The correct answer is option A, metacognition. This describes metacognition because the learner monitors and controls their own thinking and learning strategies. Classical conditioning is not the best choice because it involves learned associations. Extrinsic motivation is different because it depends on external rewards. Automaticity does not fit because it means a skill requires little conscious effort. Question 42. Why would Luis link knowledge from a statistics lesson helps a student understand test reliability to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, negative punishment. Option B, cognitive dissonance. Option C, transfer of learning. Option D, extinction. The correct answer is option C, transfer of learning. This describes transfer of learning because previous learning influences performance in a new but related situation. Negative punishment is not the best choice because it removes something desirable to reduce behavior. Cognitive dissonance is different because it involves discomfort from conflicting beliefs. Extinction does not fit because it reduces behavior when reinforcement stops. Question 43. A practice item tells Luis that a teacher gives a big picture concept map before a complex lesson begins. Which concept is most likely? Option A, token economy. Option B, advance organizer. Option C, random assignment. Option D, exit ticket. The correct answer is option B, advance organizer. This describes advance organizer because a preview structure helps learners connect new information to prior knowledge. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Random assignment is different because it places participants into groups by chance. Exit ticket does not fit because it checks understanding at the end of a lesson. Question 44. Before answering, Luis identifies that a student uses an existing mental framework about learnings to understand a new teaching method. Which term should be chosen? Option A, schema. Option B, reinforcer. Option C, rubric. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A, schema. This describes schema because a schema is an organized knowledge structure used to interpret information. Reinforcer is not the best choice because it is a consequence that increases behavior. Rubric is different because it is a scoring guide. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing in a group. Question 45. Which choice helps Luis explain why too many visuals, terms, and steps overwhelm a student during a first lesson in a quick quiz review? Option A, cognitive load. Option B, egocentrism. Option C, reliability. Option D, intrinsic motivation. The correct answer is option A, cognitive load. This describes cognitive load because working memory can become overloaded when too much information must be processed at once. Egocentrism is not the best choice because it means difficulty taking another viewpoint. Reliability is different because it concerns consistency of scores. Intrinsic motivation does not fit because it concerns interest and enjoyment. Question 46. How can Luis classify a classroom moment where students build their own understanding through discussion, examples, and problem solving? Option A, standardization. Option B, constructivism. Option C, behaviorism. Option D, maturation. The correct answer is option B, constructivism. This describes constructivism because learners actively construct meaning rather than simply receive information. Standardization is not the best choice because it keeps procedures uniform. Behaviorism is different because it emphasizes observable behavior and consequences. Maturation does not fit because it emphasizes biological growth. Question 47. Suppose Luis observes that students investigate a question, gather evidence, and develop an explanation. Which concept is shown? Option A, norm-referenced assessment. Option B, fixed ratio reinforcement. Option C, inquiry-based learning. Option D, direct instruction. The correct answer is option C, inquiry-based learning. This describes inquiry-based learning because learning begins with questions and exploration rather than only direct telling. Norm-referenced assessment is not the best choice because it compares students to one another. Fixed ratio reinforcement is different because it rewards after a set number of responses. Direct instruction does not fit because it uses clear teacher-led explanation and guided practice. Question 48. While reviewing, Luis sees a teacher models a skill, guides practice, checks understanding, and gives feedback. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, discovery learning. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, peer tutoring. Option D, portfolio assessment. The correct answer is option B, direct instruction. This describes direct instruction because the method uses explicit teaching steps and structured practice. Discovery learning is not the best choice because it expects students to uncover ideas with less direct guidance. Peer tutoring is different because it uses students helping students. Portfolio assessment does not fit because it collects work over time. Question 49. One interesting clue says students work in small groups with shared goals and individual accountability. Which educational psychology term fits for Luis? Option A, cooperative learning. Option B, lecture method. Option C, independent study. Option D, competitive learning. The correct answer is option A, cooperative learning. This describes cooperative learning because learners collaborate while each member remains responsible for contributing. Lecture method is not the best choice because it centers on teacher presentation. Independent study is different because it relies on solo learning. Competitive learning does not fit because it ranks students against one another. Question 50. From this example, where a teacher adjusts tasks, materials, and support based on student readiness, which answer should Louise select? Option A, standardized instruction. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, random sampling. Option D, differentiated instruction. The correct answer is option D, differentiated instruction. This describes differentiated instruction because instruction is adapted to different needs while keeping meaningful learning goals. Standardized instruction is not the best choice because it delivers the same approach to all students. Summative assessment is different because it evaluates after instruction. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants for research. Question 51. Students in a mini-lecture discuss why a lesson offers text, audio, visuals and different ways to show understanding from the start. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A, universal design for learning. Option B, accommodation only. Option C, mastery grading. Option D, tracking. The correct answer is option A, universal design for learning. This describes universal design for learning because UDL plans flexible access and expression options before barriers appear. Accommodation only is not the best choice because it changes access for an individual after a need is identified. Mastery grading is different because it focuses on reaching standards before moving ahead. Tracking does not fit because it separates students into groups by perceived ability. Question 52. Teachers in a peer study circle wonder why a teacher uses a quick exit question to adjust tomorrow's lesson. Which principle applies? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, placement test. The correct answer is option A, formative assessment. This describes formative assessment because the assessment is used during learning to guide instruction and feedback. Summative assessment is not the best choice because it judges learning after instruction is complete. Norm-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to other learners. Placement test does not fit because it sorts students before instruction begins. Question 53. Can Louise treat a final exam measures what students learned after the unit ends as evidence of which concept? Option A, anecdotal record. Option B, summative assessment. Option C, formative assessment. Option D, diagnostic assessment. The correct answer is option B, summative assessment. This describes summative assessment because the assessment evaluates achievement at the end of a learning period. Anecdotal record is not the best choice because it is a brief observational note. Formative assessment is different because it guides instruction during learning. Diagnostic assessment does not fit because it identifies starting strengths and needs. Question 54. If Louise must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when a student's score is judged against a fixed standard of mastery? Option A, criterion referenced assessment. Option B, informal observation. Option C, ipsative assessment. Option D, norm referenced assessment. The correct answer is option A, criterion referenced assessment. This describes criterion referenced assessment because performance is compared with defined criteria rather than other students. Informal observation is not the best choice because it is not necessarily tied to a fixed standard. Ipsative assessment is different because it compares a student to their own past performance. Norm referenced assessment does not fit because it compares students to a reference group. Question 55. Rather than guessing, Louise should connect a score report shows how a student performed compared with a national sample with which concept? Option A, formative assessment. Option B, criterion referenced assessment. Option C, norm referenced assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option C, norm referenced assessment. This describes norm-referenced assessment because the score is interpreted relative to other test takers. Formative assessment is not the best choice because it is used during learning for improvement. Criterion-referenced assessment is different because it compares performance to a standard. Authentic assessment does not fit because it uses real-world tasks. Question 56. Curiosity rises when Louise reads that a test gives similar results when the same skill is measured repeatedly. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, bias. Option B, reliability. Option C, validity. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option B, reliability. This describes reliability because reliability means scores are consistent across time, items, or raters. Bias is not the best choice because it concerns unfair advantage or disadvantage. Validity is different because it asks whether the test measures the intended construct. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative standing. Question 57. A CLEP-style scenario says a math test actually measures math reasoning instead of reading speed. Which answer best captures it for Luis? Option A, validity. Option B, standard error. Option C, inter-rater agreement. Option D, reliability. The correct answer is option A, validity. This describes validity because validity concerns whether an assessment measures what it claims to measure. Standard error is not the best choice because it estimates score uncertainty. Inter-rater agreement is different because it is one form of consistency between scorers. Reliability does not fit because it concerns consistency, not meaning. Question 58. Inside a tutoring table, Luis studies why all examines receive the same directions, timing, and scoring rules. Which concept fits? Option A, authentic assessment. Option B, standardized test. Option C, portfolio assessment. Option D, informal assessment. The correct answer is option B, standardized test. This describes standardized test because standardization keeps testing conditions uniform so scores can be interpreted fairly. Authentic assessment is not the best choice because it asks students to perform realistic tasks. Portfolio assessment is different because it collects multiple pieces of work over time. Informal assessment does not fit because it may be flexible and teacher-made. Question 59. Looking at the clue that students design a real learning plan instead of only selecting answers on a test, which idea should Luis remember? Option A, forced choice test. Option B, standardized assessment. Option C, norm-referenced assessment. Option D, authentic assessment. The correct answer is option D, authentic assessment. This describes authentic assessment because students demonstrate learning through realistic tasks and products. Forced choice test is not the best choice because it limits responses to provided options. Standardized assessment is different because it uses uniform procedures and scoring. Norm-referenced assessment does not fit because it compares performance to a group. Question 60. Luis sees that students receive a scoring guide describing levels for evidence, clarity, and accuracy during a quick quiz review. Which concept best explains it? Option A, rubric. Option B, checklist. Option C, syllabus. Option D, norm table. The correct answer is option A, rubric. This describes rubric because a rubric lists criteria and performance levels for judging work. Checklist is not the best choice because it often marks whether elements are present without quality levels. Syllabus is different because it outlines course policies and topics. Norm table does not fit because it helps interpret scores against a sample. Question 61. When Luis notices that a teacher moves students from remembering facts to evaluating arguments and creating projects in a teacher training scenario, which idea is being tested? Option A, Kohlberg stages. Option B, Bloom taxonomy. Option C, Maslow hierarchy. Option D, Erikson stages. The correct answer is option B, Bloom taxonomy. This describes Bloom taxonomy because the taxonomy organizes cognitive tasks from lower to higher levels of thinking. Kohlberg stages is not the best choice because it describes moral reasoning. Maslow hierarchy is different because it organizes human needs. Erikson stages does not fit because it describes psychosocial development. Question 62. During a final review session, Luis studies a case where a student with a qualifying disability has a legal plan with goals and services. Which term fits best? Option A, lesson plan. Option B, rubric. Option C, norming report. Option D, individualized education program. The correct answer is option D, individualized education program. This describes individualized education program because an IEP documents specialized instruction, supports, goals, and services for eligible students. Lesson plan is not the best choice because it guides a teacher's daily instruction, but is not a special education legal document. Rubric is different because it scores performance. Norming report does not fit because it summarizes comparison data. Question 63. In a learning lab, Luis asks why a student with a disability learns with non-disabled peers as much as appropriate. Which answer names the idea? Option A, least restrictive environment. Option B, tracking. Option C, retention. Option D, standardization. The correct answer is option A, least restrictive environment. This describes least restrictive environment because students should be educated in settings that provide access while avoiding unnecessary separation. Tracking is not the best choice because it groups students by perceived ability. Retention is different because it keeps a student in the same grade. Standardization does not fit because it keeps testing procedures uniform. Question 64. After reading that a student gets extended time while the learning target stays the same, how should Luis label the concept? Option A, acceleration. Option B, punishment. Option C, accommodation. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option C, accommodation. This describes accommodation because access is adjusted without changing the essential learning expectation. Acceleration is not the best choice because it moves a learner ahead faster. Punishment is different because it reduces unwanted behavior through consequences. Modification does not fit because it changes the learning expectation or task level. Question 65. For a short exam review, Luis connects a student completes a simplified assignment with different learning expectations with which principle? Option A, scaffolding. Option B, accommodation. Option C, universal screening. Option D, modification. The correct answer is option D, modification. This describes modification because the task or standard is changed to fit the learner's instructional level. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary support toward the same goal. Accommodation is different because it changes access while keeping the same standard. Universal screening does not fit because it checks all learners for risk. Question 66. Could a case where a strong thinker struggles with accurate word decoding and benefits from structured phonics be an example of which concept for Luis? Option A, dyslexia support. Option B, dyscalculia support. Option C, behavior contract. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option A, dyslexia support. This describes dyslexia support because dyslexia commonly affects word reading and decoding, so explicit structured literacy support can help. Dyscalculia support is not the best choice because it focuses on math-related difficulties. Behavior contract is different because it targets behavior goals. Percentile rank does not fit because it reports relative test standing. Question 67. Why would Luis link a student focuses better with short tasks, movement breaks, and clear routines to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, ADHD classroom support. Option B, gifted compacting. Option C, criterion testing. Option D, classical conditioning. The correct answer is option A, ADHD classroom support. This describes ADHD classroom support because structured routines and attention supports can reduce distractions and support self-management. Gifted compacting is not the best choice because it removes already mastered work for advanced learners. Criterion testing is different because it compares performance to standards. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links stimuli with responses. Question 68. A practice item tells Luis that an advanced student skips mastered work and uses time for deeper enrichment. Which concept is most likely? Option A, extinction. Option B, curriculum compacting. Option C, retention. Option D, remediation. The correct answer is option B, curriculum compacting. This describes curriculum compacting because already mastered content is reduced so the learner can pursue more challenging work. Extinction is not the best choice because it removes reinforcement to reduce a behavior. Retention is different because it repeats a grade or course. Remediation does not fit because it redirects skills that are not yet mastered. Question 69. Before answering, Luis identifies that examples, discussion norms, and materials connect learning to students' cultural backgrounds. Which term should be chosen? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, colorblind teaching. Option C, ability tracking. Option D, culturally responsive teaching. The correct answer is option D, culturally responsive teaching. This describes culturally responsive teaching because instruction uses students' cultural knowledge and experiences as assets for learning. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it keeps procedures uniform. Colorblind teaching is different because it ignores cultural differences rather than using them constructively. Ability tracking does not fit because it separates students by perceived ability. Question 70. Which choice helps Luis explain why an assessment unfairly disadvantages a group because examples depend on unfamiliar cultural knowledge in an online prep session? Option A, standard deviation. Option B, validity evidence. Option C, reliability. Option D, test bias. The correct answer is option D, test bias. This describes test bias because bias occurs when irrelevant factors give some groups an unfair advantage or disadvantage. Standard deviation is not the best choice because it describes score spread. Validity evidence is different because it supports appropriate score interpretation. Reliability does not fit because it concerns score consistency. Question 71. How can Luis classify a classroom moment where students transition quickly because procedures for materials and movement are practiced daily? Option A. Classroom routines. Option B. Accommodation. Option C. Random reinforcement. Option D. Summative testing. The correct answer is option A. Classroom routines. This describes classroom routines because clear repeated procedures reduce confusion and support orderly learning time. Accommodation is not the best choice because it adjusts access for a learner. Random reinforcement is different because it gives rewards unpredictably. Summative testing does not fit because it evaluates final achievement. Question 72. Suppose Luis observes that students earn points for target behaviors and trade them for privileges. Which concept is shown? Option A. Logical consequence. Option B. Mastery learning. Option C. Token economy. Option D. Classical conditioning. The correct answer is option C. Token economy. This describes token economy because tokens serve as conditioned reinforcers that can be exchanged for backup rewards. Logical consequence is not the best choice because it is connected naturally to misbehavior. Mastery learning is different because it requires meeting standards before moving forward. Classical conditioning does not fit because it links two stimuli rather than using exchangeable rewards. Question 73. While reviewing, Luis sees a student who misuses lab materials must repair the setup and review safety steps. Which idea matches the situation? Option A. Logical consequence. Option B. Extinction. Option C. Negative reinforcement. Option D. Unrelated punishment. The correct answer is option A. Logical consequence. This describes logical consequence because the consequence is related to the behavior and helps restore responsible action. Extinction is not the best choice because it withholds reinforcement to reduce behavior. Negative reinforcement is different because it increases behavior by removing an unpleasant condition. Unrelated punishment does not fit because it does not connect meaningfully to the behavior. Question 74. One interesting clue says a teacher spots small off-task behavior early while continuing the lesson smoothly. Which educational psychology term fits for Luis? Option A. Witness. Option B. Scaffolding. Option C. Self-efficacy. Option D. Wait time. The correct answer is option A. Witness. This describes witness because witness means awareness of classroom events and quick response before problems grow. Scaffolding is not the best choice because it gives temporary learning support. Self-efficacy is different because it is belief in capability. Wait time does not fit because it is a pause after asking a question. Question 75. From this example, where a teacher pauses several seconds after asking a question before calling on anyone, which answer should Luis select? Option A. Response cost. Option B. Witness. Option C. Wait time. Option D. Distributed practice. The correct answer is option C. Wait time. This describes wait time because wait time gives students more processing time and often improves response quality. Response cost is not the best choice because it removes a privilege after behavior. Witness is different because it is awareness of classroom behavior. Distributed practice does not fit because it spreads study sessions over time. Question 76. Students in a teacher training scenario discuss why a prompt asks students to explain several possible reasons instead of choosing one fact. Which concept gives the best explanation? Option A. Recall cue. Option B. Fixed ratio schedule. Option C. Closed question. Option D. Open-ended questioning. The correct answer is option D. Open-ended questioning. This describes open-ended questioning because open-ended questions invite elaboration, reasoning, and multiple defensible responses. Recall cue is not the best choice because it simply prompts memory of stored information. Fixed ratio schedule is different because it reinforces after a set number of responses. Closed question does not fit because it usually has one brief answer. Question 77. Teachers in a final review session wonder why a teacher tells a student exactly what worked and what to revise next. Which principle applies? Option A. General praise. Option B. Summative grade only. Option C. Effective feedback. Option D. Random correction. The correct answer is option C. Effective feedback. This describes effective feedback because specific, timely feedback helps learners close the gap between current and desired performance. General praise is not the best choice because it may feel positive but gives little guidance. Summative grade only is different because it reports performance without next steps. Random correction does not fit because it lacks targeted connection to the learning goal. Question 78. Can Luis treat a student sets a goal, monitors progress, changes strategies, and reflects after studying as evidence of which concept? Option A, object permanence. Option B, social facilitation. Option C, operant conditioning. Option D, self-regulated learning. The correct answer is option D, self-regulated learning. This describes self-regulated learning because learners actively plan, monitor, control, and evaluate their learning. Object permanence is not the best choice because it concerns infant understanding of hidden objects. Social facilitation is different because it concerns performance changes in the presence of others. Operant conditioning does not fit because it emphasizes consequences shaping behavior. Question 79. If Luis must answer quickly, which idea is signaled when students take turns summarizing, questioning, clarifying, and predicting during reading? Option A, token economy. Option B, direct instruction. Option C, random assignment. Option D, reciprocal teaching. The correct answer is option D, reciprocal teaching. This describes reciprocal teaching because the strategy uses structured dialogue to improve comprehension. Token economy is not the best choice because it uses symbolic rewards. Direct instruction is different because it is mainly teacher-led explanation and practice. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance. Question 80. Rather than guessing, Luis should connect one student guides another through practice will both receive learning benefits with which concept? Option A, portfolio assessment. Option B, peer tutoring. Option C, tracking. Option D, lecture. The correct answer is option B, peer tutoring. This describes peer tutoring because students support each other's learning through structured helper-learner roles. Portfolio assessment is not the best choice because it collects work samples over time. Tracking is different because it separates students into ability groups. Lecture does not fit because it is teacher presentation to a group. Question 81. Curiosity rises when Luis reads that a child identifies that cat and cup begin with the same spoken sound. Which term solves the puzzle? Option A, syntax. Option B, morphology. Option C, phonics. Option D, phonemic awareness. The correct answer is option D, phonemic awareness. This describes phonemic awareness because the learner is attending to individual sounds in spoken language. Syntax is not the best choice because it concerns sentence structure. Morphology is different because it studies meaningful word parts. Phonics does not fit because it links sounds to printed letters. Question 82. A CLEP-style scenario says a student improves a skill after watching a competent model demonstrate each step. Which answer best captures it for Luis? Option A, Piaget conservation. Option B, Skinner shaping. Option C, Maslow needs. Option D, Bandura modeling. The correct answer is option D, Bandura modeling. This describes Bandura modeling because Bandura emphasized learning by observing models and the outcomes of their actions. Piaget conservation is not the best choice because it concerns logical understanding of quantity. Skinner shaping is different because it reinforces gradual behavior changes through consequences. Maslow needs does not fit because it explains motivation through layered needs. Question 83. Inside a Bright Review class, Luis studies why family, school, peers, community, and culture all shape a child's development. Which concept fits? Option A, Erikson psychosocial stages. Option B, information processing. Option C, Kohlberg moral stages. Option D, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. The correct answer is option D, Brinfenbrenner ecological systems. This describes Brinfenbrenner ecological systems because development is influenced by nested environmental systems around the child. Erikson psychosocial stages is not the best choice because it focuses on lifespan social-emotional conflicts. Information processing is different because it compares thinking to mental processing systems. Kohlberg moral stages does not fit because it focuses on moral reasoning. Question 84. Looking at the clue that a young child uses a caregiver as a safe base and seeks comfort after stress, which idea should Luis remember? Option A, authoritarian parenting. Option B, industry versus inferiority. Option C, avoidant attachment. Option D, secure attachment. The correct answer is option D, secure attachment. This describes secure attachment because secure attachment involves trust in caregiver availability and comfort. Authoritarian parenting is not the best choice because it describes strict parenting style. Industry versus inferiority is different because it is a school-age psychosocial conflict. Avoidant attachment does not fit because it shows reduced seeking of comfort. Question 85. Luis sees that two infants differ early in activity level, mood, and adaptability during an online prep session. Which concept best explains it? Option A, self-concept. Option B, temperament. Option C, criterion validity. Option D, moral reasoning. The correct answer is option B, temperament. This describes temperament because temperament refers to biologically influenced patterns of emotional and behavioral response. Self-concept is not the best choice because it is a person's view of self. Criterion validity is different because it links test scores to an outcome. Moral reasoning does not fit because it concerns judgments about right and wrong. Question 86. When Luis notices that a child says goad because a regular grammar rule is applied too broadly in a morning lesson, which idea is being tested? Option A, babbling. Option B, telegraphic speech. Option C, language overgeneralization. Option D, code switching. The correct answer is option C, language overgeneralization. This describes language overgeneralization because the child applies a learned language rule to an irregular case. Babbling is not the best choice because it is early sound play. Telegraphic speech is different because it uses short two-word phrases. Code switching does not fit because it shifts language varieties based on context. Question 87. During a practice test workshop, Luis studies a case where students explain whether a character should break a rule to help someone in need. Which term fits best? Option A, behavior checklist. Option B, moral dilemma assessment. Option C, achievement test. Option D, aptitude test. The correct answer is option B, moral dilemma assessment. This describes moral dilemma assessment because moral dilemmas reveal the reasoning behind judgments, not just the choice itself. Behavior checklist is not the best choice because it records observed behaviors. Achievement test is different because it measures learned academic content. Aptitude test does not fit because it predicts future learning potential. Question 88. In a tutoring table, Luis asks why a study finds that homework time and test scores rise together without proving cause. Which answer names the idea? Option A, correlational research. Option B, case study. Option C, ethnography. Option D, experimental research. The correct answer is option A, correlational research. This describes correlational research because correlation shows a relationship between variables but does not establish causation. Case study is not the best choice because it examines one person or small group deeply. Ethnography is different because it studies culture through immersion. Experimental research does not fit because it manipulates variables to test cause and effect. Question 89. After reading that participants are placed into tutoring or no tutoring groups by chance, how should Luis label the concept? Option A, random assignment. Option B, convenience sampling. Option C, matching. Option D, random sampling. The correct answer is option A, random assignment. This describes random assignment because chance placement helps make groups similar before the treatment begins. Convenience sampling is not the best choice because it uses whoever is easily available. Matching is different because it pairs participants on key traits. Random sampling does not fit because it selects participants from a population. Question 90. For a short exam review, Luis connects a researcher changes the type of feedback students receive with which principle? Option A, control variable. Option B, confounding variable. Option C, dependent variable. Option D, independent variable. The correct answer is option D, independent variable. This describes independent variable because the independent variable is the factor the researcher manipulates. Control variable is not the best choice because it is held constant. Confounding variable is different because it is an unwanted factor that may affect results. Dependent variable does not fit because it is the measured outcome. Question 91. Could a case where a researcher measures quiz scores after using two different teaching methods be an example of which concept for Luis? Option A, extraneous variable. Option B, random assignment. Option C, independent variable. Option D, dependent variable. The correct answer is option D, dependent variable. This describes dependent variable because the dependent variable is the outcome measured to see whether the treatment had an effect. Extraneous variable is not the best choice because it is an outside influence. Random assignment is different because it is a grouping procedure. Independent variable does not fit because it is the factor manipulated. Question 92. Why would Luis link one group receives regular instruction while another receives a new memory strategy to one major educational psychology idea? Option A, sample. Option B, control group. Option C, population. Option D, experimental group. The correct answer is option B, control group. This describes control group because the control group provides a comparison for judging the effect of the treatment. Sample is not the best choice because it is the set of participants studied. Population is different because it is the larger group of interest. Experimental group does not fit because it receives the treatment being tested. Question 93. A practice item tells Luis that a teacher adds all quiz scores and divides by the number of students. Which concept is most likely? Option A, mode. Option B, median. Option C, mean. Option D, range. The correct answer is option C, mean. This describes mean because the mean is the arithmetic average of a set of scores. Mode is not the best choice because it is the most frequent score. Median is different because it is the middle score. Range does not fit because it is the difference between highest and lowest scores. Question 94. Before answering, Luis identifies that a teacher wants to know how spread out the class scores are around the average. Which term should be chosen? Option A, mean. Option B, raw score. Option C, standard deviation. Option D, percentile rank. The correct answer is option C, standard deviation. This describes standard deviation because standard deviation describes typical distance of scores from the mean. Mean is not the best choice because it gives the average but not spread. Raw score is different because it is the number of points earned. Percentile rank does not fit because it shows relative standing. Question 95. Which choice helps Luis explain why a student's report says the score is higher than the scores of 80% of the norm group in a student coaching session? Option A, grade equivalent. Option B, standard deviation. Option C, percentile rank. Option D, percentage correct. The correct answer is option C, percentile rank. This describes percentile rank because percentile rank tells the percentage of comparison scores at or below a student's score. Grade equivalent is not the best choice because it estimates grade level performance, often imperfectly. Standard deviation is different because it describes score spread. Percentage correct does not fit because it reports items answered correctly. Question 96. How can Luis classify a classroom moment where students improve partly because they know they are being studied? Option A, Hawthorne effect. Option B, placebo effect. Option C, observer bias. Option D, testing effect. The correct answer is option A, Hawthorne effect. This describes Hawthorne effect because participants may change behavior simply because they are receiving attention in a study. Placebo effect is not the best choice because it involves improvement from belief in a treatment. Observer bias is different because it occurs when researcher expectations shape recording. Testing effect does not fit because it improves learning through retrieval practice. Question 97. Suppose Luis observes that students improve over a semester because they naturally grew older, not because of the program. Which concept is shown? Option A, regression to the mean. Option B, instrumentation threat. Option C, selection bias. Option D, maturation threat. The correct answer is option D, maturation threat. This describes maturation threat because changes due to natural development can threaten conclusions about a treatment's effect. Regression to the mean is not the best choice because it occurs when extreme scores move closer to average later. Instrumentation threat is different because it occurs when measurement changes over time. Selection bias does not fit because it occurs when groups differ before a treatment. Question 98. While reviewing, Luis sees a researcher records detailed notes about learning interactions instead of only counting scores. Which idea matches the situation? Option A, standardized testing. Option B, meta-analysis. Option C, random assignment. Option D, qualitative observation. The correct answer is option D, qualitative observation. This describes qualitative observation because qualitative methods focus on rich descriptions and meanings in context. Standardized testing is not the best choice because it uses uniform measurement procedures. Meta-analysis is different because it statistically combines many studies. Random assignment does not fit because it places participants into groups by chance. Question 99. One interesting clue says a teacher studies the effect of a new discussion routine in the teacher's own learning. Which educational psychology term fits for Luis? Option A, longitudinal research. Option B, survey research. Option C, laboratory experiment. Option D, action research. The correct answer is option D, action research. This describes action research because practitioners investigate their own settings to improve local practice. Longitudinal research is not the best choice because it follows participants over time. Survey research is different because it gathers responses from questionnaires. Laboratory experiment does not fit because it tests variables in a controlled setting. Question 100. From this example, where families are told the study purpose, risks, and rights before agreeing to participate, which answer should Luis select? Option A, informed consent. Option B, confidentiality. Option C, debriefing. Option D, random assignment. The correct answer is option A, informed consent. This describes informed consent because participants or guardians must understand key information and voluntarily agree. Confidentiality is not the best choice because it protects private data. Debriefing is different because it explains details after participation. Random assignment does not fit because it assigns participants to groups by chance.